I was talking about something about...
You were talking about Larry and you recording conversations, and then you were talking about Kenneth.
The connections. Okay, like everything you do in life, right? Like it's always connected. Say like something that you did long time ago, like when that happened, right? Like I was like, hey, something just instantly came into my mind. It was like, let's record it. So we recorded it and then it dropped. And now it's like coming back to all that. Like, it's like, oh, it's like your soul kind of knows that's what it wants you to do. And that's like a taste many
I'm
years
David,
ago.
by the way. This is Fola talking.
Like talking about. But you know what I mean? Same with anything else in life. Like, and then this morning I woke up and I was thinking about...
And we had great sex.
Thanks. And then they're talking, or in my mind came like a thought about the Reiki on the palliative unit, right?
While we were having great sex.
And I was like, hey, I'm like, how about in order to get more people to be interested in the Reiki, we do like some type of education session for the nursing staff. And I'm like, yeah, and this, like, all these things came into my mind, like
an introductory to Reiki kind of thing.
Well, just like, so they know what it is.
Yeah,
because like most people don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, so just, and I did the exact same thing with Kathy for Wellsprings last year, right? Where she invited me to like come and do the presentation and do these education groups. And it's kind of like, well, now I see I was asked to do that to get the practice and have a general idea to know that I know what I'm doing, so that now I can bring that forward into this.
That's why you want to do Toastmasters. Get even better at it.
Actually, yeah, now that you brought... Yeah, I do feel like the public speaking will be
It's all about storytelling, like we were talking earlier. So, I think it's all just about being aware of the details that people are interested in. So when you pay extra attention to your environment and then you find stuff that you think is interesting, you have to remember that to share that with other people in your conversations, and don't gloss over it or forget to mention it. Sometimes the mundane details are the most interesting ones. So like even a story could suck, but if you have good details, like this guy was making funny faces, or the weather was particularly violent that day with thunder, stuff like that, like adds to it.
Yeah, it's all about the setting, right? That's kind of that lady I told you in Salem.
Yeah,
that's her whole thing was just about, like, the story she told was how she was listening to the song on the intercom and she was singing the wrong lyrics, and some guy who walked up next to her was like, do you know what the lyrics actually are for this song? And she was like, found out what the lyrics were, and that was the whole story. Was just, but it took her like 10 minutes almost, not that long, to tell it. And the way she built everything up about like her walking down the like produce aisle and like the mist from the like misters coming, like all this stuff that she did to build it up. You have no idea what the end result of the story is going to be really, but you're like sitting at the edge of your seat, right?
Or some people are really good at telling stories, but they suck at telling details. I was listening to Whitley Strieber. Remember he's the author of Communion. He did this story about how he was abducted by aliens. It came out in the 80s. And he was on this podcast talking about, like, this, the interviewer asked him a question, like, for example, how did you begin talking to otherworldly entities and stuff like that? And he was rambling for like 15, 20 minutes. But you could tell it was a good story, but it wasn't like good enough to keep me engaged. But he had all the details. And so it's very interesting. It's not about technique that makes you a good storyteller. It's more about being aware of the other person, your audience, what they would be most interested in, and kind of focusing on that and dressing it up and building it up like you said. And so I'll come to being empathetic, I think, towards people, storytelling, right?
Empathy, yeah.
Why? I'm out.
Well, you have to be able to read, right? And the intuition, right? Read the
It's
person,
intuition,
read
yeah.
the environment of is the person interested, like. Which I think a lot of, we always joke about, like, some of my family, like, my mom will just, like, go around in circles about when it comes to telling a story. We're like, oh my goodness, like, get to the end, like, why do you have to explain,
The chicken crossed the road, I get it.
Why do you have to say, oh, you remember so-and-so, and, like, how they're this person and they're related to this person because remember this person lived here, like that sort of
Nobody
thing.
cares.
No one cares. It's not really relevant. So yeah, I guess it's not just a matter of all the more detail. It's a matter of providing a sufficient amount of detail, and reading the people and their interests. Because if she were to like maybe really look, she could tell that we're all kind of like rolling our eyes, like oh my god.
But some people actually really like these kind of stories.
That's true.
And it's funny for me because I don't like George W.L. Martin's, Game of Thrones. Like I don't like reading his book because there's so much detail in it. Like it talk like 10 pages about food. Like I don't care about that. But like the actual like basic plots, elements of it, like the really good stuff is kind of like, you know, just, it's not, like, I don't care about the detail here, but I care about the detail there. So it's very difficult to have it focus right on the audience when the audience is so vast. So I guess you would have to tailor it individually or to a certain group of people to become an effective storyteller.
But even in that case, like, there's lots of people who do read his stuff and other people who don't, right? And, like, you get your audience no matter what. Even if, you know, you
want
can't...
to keep your audience, you have to be good at it.
Do you? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
I think sometimes if you, like, have that brand, it doesn't even really matter. Like, people will come and go no matter what, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I think of some of the people that I've listened to over the years, right? Like, I kind of come, like Ralph Smart, say, like Infinite Waters. Like, I'll come and go from listening to not listening, right? And it's not because I really, like, just don't, it's not like I don't like him after a while. It's just like, it's just not really resonating with me as much, or it's just not the right moment. But then there's other times where, like, it'll be like every day I'm seeing posts come up, like notifications that he's like talking about the exact thing that I'm going through. And it's like, holy shit, like, how is this even possible, right? So it's just like, you're just in resonance with that person who's providing that content or whatever. And I think that's a freedom of life.
I saw.
Like, because we, as humans, again, like we said, you know, consistently inconsistent.
I don't
like
that term.
I know you don't, but you're allowed to, and the only constant is change. What do they call those things again? All those terminologies?
What?
Whatever, not a cliche. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Consistently inconsistent?
Consistently inconsistent. The only constant is change, and the fact that, like, as humans, we're allowed to change our mind. We're allowed to change who it is that we follow or listen to or, like, subscribe to.
But integrity is important too, and being true to your word is important, and honoring yourself is important, and other people in the process as well. So when you're consistent in upholding your values, you develop your character, right? You become a better person, and you grow, right? I think that's the way it works. So when you stick to your word, and when you honor your word, and when other people respect you for doing that, then it just builds you up more and more, right? And when you say consistently inconsistent, it's like you're so unpredictable and you don't really have values. You just go with the wind, which way it blows. It says your character is not as solid as it could be, right? It just says that you're just unsure of yourself, unsure of your place in the world, you know, that kind of stuff, right? Like, you say one thing and do another. Is that worthy of respect? I mean, you're allowed to change, sure, but when you're changing constantly.
But do you not think that people over time, like, are inconsistent, so they get to the point of consistency? Because then they know what they like and what they don't like, right? How are you really ever going to know what you like if you don't know what you don't like?
Yeah, but, like, how old are you, right? You should know by now what your core values would be. Like, is it family? Is it love? Is it relationships? Is it your job? Is it your spirituality? Like, what's most important to you, right? And do these things change? That's the big question, right? And how often should they change?
Do they? Like, what do you think with that?
I think so. For example, if you valued family and all that, and all of a sudden you had a crush on divorce, it's going to test that, and it's going to say, was that really an important value to you? And that's some people. That's where the decision comes in, right? Yes, it is important, so they're going to fight to take care of what they have. Let's say they have kids, so they're going to take extra good care of the kids, try to get custody and all that. Some people just give up and say, you know what, I used to value it, I don't think I can value it as much anymore, I'm going to value this instead. That's fair, but at the same time, the character is, like, kind of compromised a little bit. It's like, it wasn't as valuable as you once thought it was.
But I see that as almost like how the universe works. We think we know, and then the universe is like, yeah, don't know shit.
I don't know,
right? Because, like, this is exactly that whole, like, Doreen Virtue situation where then she converted to Christianity, and then she has, like, most of her followers, like, getting all pissed off, like, how dare she, like, convert to Christianity and, like, abandon us is really the premise, right? Like, to me, and, like, the same thing when people, like, my parents will talk about, you know, lots of, like, people converting to Christianity, like Muslims converting to Christianity or whatever. Like, to me, it's like I see it happening all the time, all over. People changing their views, going this way and that way, like a total, like, 180 degree, like, switch, right? Because that's kind of what the universe wants us to experience.
Why the universe? Why not themselves decide to experience?
Well, whatever, universe, it's all the same thing.
Okay.
Like, something deep inside is like, you think you know, you don't actually know.
Well, that's the cockiness. That's the pride of thinking you know all the answers, and then you realize there's so much more out there that you don't understand. And when people mistakenly think they have all the answers, there has to be a moment where they get to the point where they realize they don't. But that's a good question, because of the fundamentalists, like religious people that have always been religious throughout their whole lives. Like, how did that work in your thing? Like, nothing is prompting them to change, right?
I don't think it necessarily happens for everyone in the same theme or like same area of life, like religion,
but they think
or
they know everything.
Their core value on family or whatever. It could be something very simple even, right? Like the way they exercise, or like their importance of exercise or nutrition or whatever, right? Like, I bet you if we really looked at each person, we would find some theme in which like it changes completely.
I guess we all kind of shuffle our values around throughout life,
Yeah.
right? Like, whatever is important to us now might not be important to us next year or 10 years from now. But I like to believe, because I'm a sentimentalist, that there's some core values that you should never betray, right? You should always honor and try to work towards. And you're going to have challenges, and it's going to test it, man. And if you manage to meet those challenges and overcome them, then that says a lot about you. It shows that strength you have in your character, and that's worth living for. Like, say you value your family, right? To death do you part. Like, no matter what your family does, you always be there for them, and people respect that, and you respect yourself, and you become better. So I think it's good to be holding on to something that you think is valuable, but not to the point where you realize it doesn't serve you anymore. And that's what I think a lot of religious fundamentalists happen to do, is they reach the point where it doesn't serve them anymore. They're not growing because of it. So maybe that's why they convert over, right? Because they realize that religion was a dead end. This one has more to offer them. So they kind of start playing for the other team.
Well, sometimes that happens. Other times, though, most of these are like Jesus or like Muhammad or whatever. Someone like visited them, right?
Oh, like
they had like a whole shake up of their beliefs because of like one incident that they can't explain, like some spiritual experience.
Coffee time.
Coffee. Just fill the cups. Do you want some?
Yeah. We're pouring coffee. How hard was that resin to get off?
It wasn't that bad.
No.
No, it wasn't really. It was just like more like sludge at the bottom.
So I left the coffee pot on for a day, and that's what happened. There was a big black sludge of coffee resin that we could actually smoke if you rolled it up and put it in
it.
No, we
I
never
wonder
tried
what
that.
would happen. It makes me think of my colleague friend who's like selling this nootropic type.
Nootropic?
I don't think they actually call it a nootropic, but what's it called? Nerium. It's like a facial. It's a facial product and also a cognitive, like nootropic type product.
You put it on your face and it enhance your brain?
No, you take pills too. You can put it on your face and it helps with like wrinkles, all that stuff, and then you can ingest the pill form. And I think it comes from a coffee bean, like, or some coffee. I don't know, there's some like chemical compound that's supposed to help, and it like increases people's cognition like significantly.
And your skin is better because of it?
I don't know if like the oral tablet will increase. I don't know.
Could be omega fish oils, right? I mean, the fish oils does improve cognitive function, and it's an oil, so it obviously would probably hydrate and protect your skin. So
no, it's a bean. It's a coffee bean.
Bean
extract, something from a coffee bean. Anyways, I wonder. I don't know if it's like a special type of coffee, or you could use it in.
They all have the same beans.
I have no idea.
Probably just caffeine or something.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be like just like some compound. I don't know. Are there different types of caffeine compounds?
Caffeine compound, just I don't know.
I'd have to look that up.
Some kind of GMO coffee bean that gives you magical powers.
Maybe. I mean, why not? Like, seems like most of the natural things in the world help with that stuff. More so, well, I mean, I don't know what they do to it. It always made me wonder, like, will something happen after? But Like the lion's mane mushroom is natural, like, and that really helps, and that's been used for like thousands of years. Or whatever, hundreds of years, I guess I should say, because I really don't know the history that well, but made by monks and stuff. They would drink it in tea. And that's supposed to help with your cognition and even just, I think it builds up like the nerves and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember when I was drinking it, like I could like feel all the sensations in my hands so much more, like very sensitive, because it was like building up like the nerves.
Oh, that's what you were telling me about, yeah.
It was interesting.
Just probably building like new neural pathways or something like that. Huh.
So
I've always been fascinated by nootropics, and I tried taking Alpha Brain, the one that Joe Rogan promotes on his podcast from Onnit. He's part owner of it, but yeah, it didn't do nothing for me. It was like $50 a bottle and nothing happened. I don't know if I got any schmodo from it. Felt pretty dumb after paying that much money and not having anything felt afterwards.
That's the thing, you have to be consistent with a lot of that stuff, right?
For sure, I took the whole bottle the way they said it should be.
But usually it's like, you're supposed to take those things for like months, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I guess we're just like a society that wants to constantly like try solving issues with a pill, right?
Yeah, there's a
pill or like, not even just a pill, some type of like ingestion of something. I wonder where that comes from.
What?
Like, what's that, like, what is the reason for that humans always jump to wanting to put something inside their bodies to, like...
It's just convenience. It's like this magical transformation they don't really have to work at, right? Like, if you have, like, if you want... Do you remember that they had that pill, exercise in a bottle?
No.
They had this product. It's like supposed to build muscle, and all you do is take a pill. You don't have to work out. It just builds muscle automatically. And there was another one where, like, it takes fat, like, it absorbs fat from the food that you eat, and they were showing it on TV in this infomercial. It's this glass of water they put bacon grease in it, and then they put the contents of this pill into it, and it would capture all the bacon grease into like a ball, and it would drop to the bottom of the glass.
What do you do? What does your body do with it?
Well, what that does is that if you eat a big meal and you take that pill, then you shit out all the fat.
But fat's not bad for you.
But that's the thing. It's like they're saying it is. They're saying that fat accumulates in the system. So what this does is capture it, and you just effortlessly poop it out. So it's like you don't even have to worry about losing weight. You eat whatever you want. You just got to take those pills with your food. That's all.
And how did those pills work? Like, in terms of success rate?
Oh, I don't know. I just know what I saw on TV. That glass of water with the bacon grease. It was quite a demonstration.
You know, and like I've been thinking about this more because I see lots on like the psychedelic groups that I'm in, just, you know, like talking about, this is going to help mental health, like psilocybin, like MDMA, and I do believe that.
Can also
but I'm also like, but again, it's like, are we not going to just switch our view from like regular psychotropics to you know, like your antidepressants and everything? Are we going to just switch that now to like psychedelics and expect that to help us?
Is that a good substitute?
No, that's what I'm saying. No. It's not, right? It's like you can't just take a pill again. Like there's like the therapy, right? Like people don't see that part as the therapy is important to the like self-development. Like we're just thinking, with antidepressants, like they're helpful. I know, because I like had to take them before.
There's so many of them.
But, you know what I mean?
What are you doing? Are we recording?
Pause it. Hey. Good, sorry. My phone's just charging. I'm like, it's ringing. Topic to topic, right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's good in itself, right?
Okay. I'm going to just eat my granola thing.
Oh.
Crunch, crunch, crunch. Okay. But no, so psychotropics. Antidepressants, all this stuff can like be beneficial with a therapy. Same with any type of like psychedelic. It's good, but if you're not integrating it during or after, before, whatever, right? Like, what's the point? You're just going to get back to square one because you really haven't changed. It's like very few, I think, of people that actually have significant enough experiences on psychedelics that it does have like that great shift in their like consciousness, right? I don't know if there's rates. There must be some stats on that, but
there's very few is what you're saying.
I don't think it's as big. You know, people I think believe like you take LSD and then you're gonna be like, oh my god, my life's totally changed. Like, I don't really
It does expand your consciousness, doesn't it?
It does expand it, but it's not like
but
a boom and then that's it. It's like, I think over time there is a shift, but it's not like you take it and the next morning you're like a completely different person all the time. Maybe some people are. And I think though in those cases it's a lot of times leads to like a not good experience. That's when you have more of that like spiritual emergence, like crisis type situation, right? And then the person cannot comprehend what happened, right? Because they're just left in now this like new state, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I keep hearing stories about people that go and take DMT or ayahuasca, and they're basically the same people. Like a month or a year later, it's like what really changed for them. So I guess it's all about like what do you want to do with it, and what are you willing to do to like improve yourself, I suppose, after you take these things. So I'm not exactly sure. Like people are kind of lazy. They think that all the answers they have is like it's going to be provided in a pill, and when they take it, it may have some momentary relief or answers, but they don't run with it. They don't like keep the momentum going without the drug. So it's pretty recreational. A lot of these drug people take it and they don't realize that there's wisdom there that they're being given, and they're not really integrating or using it or applying it to their lives. It's just this glimpse of this other thing, and they just don't run with it. It's like reading something really valuable in a book and then just forgetting about it the next day. You're not applying it, you're not using it, and what good was it? That was good advice or whatever it was you read.
But I think that's where the integration therapy and all that stuff comes into play, is that it gives you like a framework in which to come to a conclusion of how do I apply this now to my life. And that's like one thing with the spiritual emergence, is that a lot of times it's more challenging and people go into that like real like crisis because they don't have the framework in which to put all the information that just came to them from that experience into like their current life, right? And I think that's like one of the standoff really, right? Like, okay, now I'm hearing things or like seeing like other dimensional beings.
How do you apply
that? But
I
never really believed in other dimensions or in anything past this physical world. So it's more challenging, right? Like, so unless the person can come to, educate themselves, because, maybe that's something we have to do in schools. Is like,
how do you educate yourself on, like, other dimensions, then?
Well, but you know what I mean? Just knowing that is a possibility. And you just go online, be like, I had a weird experience, Google, and then that's how people find out about, like, 5D or, like, whatever, 5D. Right? And it's like, oh, these are, like, some of the symptoms that I'm having. That's just, like, spiritual awakening or whatever, right?
Yeah, but there's no end of the road with these questions, right? Like, people never reach a point where they go, oh, now I know, I understand it. Actually, like, once you get to that point, you realize it could be something more or you could be wrong.
But it's just a matter of, like, getting to that level, balancing out.
Introspection.
Yeah, balancing out and be like, okay, it's okay, I'm going to figure this out, and it could change tomorrow or it could change in a year. But it's just like, it's like a support. It's like now they've just self-supported. They're like supporting themselves and telling themselves it's okay, and not just like, this can't be real, like I'm losing my mind, right? And then they're really doubting themselves when deep down, like their soul's like, no, this is actually what life is about, right? Or
the other dimensions.
There's something so much more than just the like.
How do you know what's real and what's a hallucination or what's a dream, right?
Well, everything's a dream.
That's a matter of subjective debate.
Is it though?
Not sure, we can't prove it. Hard evidence, baby. What do you mean, how do I know? There hasn't been proof of like other dimensions of beings on them influencing this one, right?
I thought you were talking about like dreaming.
Well, that's part of it. Like perhaps you do go to another dimension when you go to sleep, right? You don't know that. Maybe that does happen. Or maybe you just kind of leave your body and you go to some playground in the sky and you start making your own stuff, or maybe it's just like defragging a hard drive and you're sleeping and your body just defrags your mind and all this weird stuff pops up. And
but that's what I'm kind of saying is like maybe like this world right now, us talking here is a dream.
Wow, that's
the dream.
They have said that.
That's kind of the basis of like shamanism.
Nah, it's Buddhism too. Everything's an illusion. But is it? Everything's real. I'm tapping the table right now. Feels real to me.
Yeah, because
in a dream, it doesn't.
You're just so used to this right now.
And in a dream, it feels, it goes all over the place. Sometimes the table disappears.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's hard unless you can really remember your childhood and like when you were really young, right? But if you see kids, like I think they're just so in tune with that. Like maybe, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say with this.
They're more sensitive. Kids are often more sensitive and naive, right? So they don't like have that skeptical thing that's blocked them from exploring these things further or taking them more seriously. They take it seriously usually right off the bat. And that's beneficial. At the same time, we want to be rational about some stuff. We can't just go thinking that there's all kinds of weird shit happening around, because you can go crazy, right? You got paranoid. You can, like, maybe you hear voices in the head, right? If you hear voices in the head, is that good or bad? Is that you, or is that something coming from outside of you? And these are hard questions to answer, and you can go crazy if you can't find a good answer. So maybe the good answer is there is no answer, and you got to accept that they just happen, and you got to live in the in-between of knowing and not knowing, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the secret to it. But some people get so fixated on their voices in their head, for example, they think they're real voices coming from outside of themselves, they should listen to it. And perhaps that's the wrong way of doing it, who knows, right?
Again, right or wrong, David?
Wow, right or wrong. There is right or wrong, I would say.
I think that needs to be another conversation for another time.
That's a long one, yeah.
But I think that's good enough.
That's good enough? End of the conversation?
I feel like that was good. Thank you.
Thank you.